Not long ago, two brothers shared the same roof, bread, and their mother's hands braiding their hair before sleep. You would not have known, watching them then, that the same blood could carry two such different hearts. The older brother, Yusuf, built his wealth slowly, like stacking stones in a wall, with patience and calculation. He owned vast land, a house with unused rooms, and a gate with a lock he checked every night. He learned that to give was to lose, that mercy was a hole in the pocket. His younger brother's soft, searching eyes were a danger to everything he had built. Tariq had built nothing. His hands were cracked from work, his back bent. Life had tested him like fire tests bread. His children grew thin. His wife stopped singing. Their house let rain in, an uninvited guest who never left. So, on a night when the cold had teeth, Tariq walked the long road to his brother's gate. He asked for little. Only a room, just until spring, until the ground softened and he could work again. He knocked, he waited, he knocked again. A light moved behind the curtain. Someone was there, but the door did not open. That closed door became the beginning of everything that followed. Not a war, not a crime, just a door that did not open. Yet that moment grew inside both men. Tariq turned and walked back into the dark. He found shelter with an old widow. A woman with nothing, who gave what she had. A corner, a blanket, a bowl of something warm. She did not ask his name before she fed his child. She did not calculate before she moved aside. There was no reason for her generosity except that she had once been cold herself. Tariq remembered her for the rest of his life. He never forgot her shaking hands as she poured the soup. Spring came, then another winter, then another spring. Tariq endured with quiet stubbornness. He worked other men's land, repaired other men's walls. He taught himself that dignity was not a gift. But inside, something had shifted. Not broken, but shifted, like a door knocked off its hinge. His children watched him. They saw how their father greeted their uncle with a lowered head. They saw how their mother's eyes grew distant when Yusuf's name was mentioned. They were learning, without being taught, the shape of injustice. And injustice, when witnessed by children, grows a second life. Yusuf, in his large house, was not happy. This is the part that stories sometimes forget to tell. He had filled his rooms with furniture no one sat in. He ate well, but ate alone. His wife had become a quiet woman, not peaceful quiet, but the quiet of a person who has stopped expecting anything. His own children called him father the way you call a stranger, sir, with correctness, without warmth. He had spent so many years protecting what he owned that he had forgotten to protect what mattered. The closed rooms of his house held things he never used. Good cloth, folded. Lamps unlit. A second kitchen that had never cooked a meal for anyone hungry. He walked through these rooms at night. Something in him pulled at his chest like a hand reaching through a wall. He did not call it guilt. He called it nothing. He gave it no name at all. But names or not, it followed him. Years later, when their mother died, the two brothers stood together at a grave for the first time. The earth was dry and pale. A few birds moved above them without sound. Tariq wept. Yusuf stood still, holding something down that wanted to rise. After the burial, Yusuf moved toward his brother. He said nothing for a long moment. Then he said something so small, so inadequate. He said, "I saw you at the gate." 3 words, a confession so late it had almost lost its meaning. Yet it had not lost its meaning entirely, because Tariq stood very still and let the words reach him. He did not shout. He did not forgive in the grand, theatrical way of stories. He simply said, "I know you did." And then he looked away toward the dry hills. The widow who had sheltered him had died 2 winters before. She had died in the same corner. Surrounded by nothing, remembered by almost no one. Tariq had buried her. He was the only one. This is what the closed rooms could not hold, that mercy from an empty hand weighs more than anything a full house can offer. And justice does not always arrive announced. Sometimes it arrives as a dying woman's soup. Sometimes as a brother's too late words beside a grave. Sometimes it arrives as nothing at all, and you must learn to carry the weight of that silence, without letting it make you cruel. Tariq walked home that evening on the same long road. His back was older now, his hands still cracked, but something in him was upright, in a way that no amount of locked gates had been able to bend. The light was almost gone, but he had walked this road in the dark before. He knew the way.